Good evening. Welcome to our 234th meeting. Are there any new members here tonight? No new member. How about any visitors? Oh, new member?
New member.
All right. You want to tell us a little something about yourself? Want to tell us something about yourself? What you're interested in?
I'm a Vietnam veteran. I did 4 years in the Sea. I was retired after 20 years with the Michigan AFL-CIO. Cool.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and joining. Be sure and check out our for sale table tonight and our free table tonight. If you have any items that you aren't using any longer or want to get rid of, be sure and think about DPI SIG auction. We'll be having another auction after the conference. We're starting to get enough stuff that we'll have another auction. If you have any prints for the F3C print competition, I need to have those at the training center by 4 o'clock Monday because they have to go in the mail. So I don't know if anybody has any prints for that competition or not. We'll remind everybody that the F3C conference is coming up, and you'll see something on that tonight. But as DPI SIG members, you get a $29 discount when you sign up, so that should help. Does anybody here, if anybody here uses Facebook or Instagram to do some postings, Joe Canavo would like some help, maybe promoting the conference there. Joe, are you here? He said he was going to be here. Okay. Well, if you know a little bit or something about Facebook or Instagram, email me and I'll get you in touch with Joe. But we'd like to get some notices on Facebook and Instagram, and unfortunately, he's not familiar with it. So, at the end of the meeting, we'll have 7 door prizes. So, I'll turn the meeting over to Marcel.
All yours, Marcel.
Thanks, Sonny. Lost my PowerPoint. Well, we've got some extra special guests this evening, so that's a good thing. You're going to enjoy this evening's meeting. This afternoon, I was interviewed by the media, and you know how they do the, just for fun, the gotcha questions? So they asked me, who was the first astronaut to land on the sun? And I thought, and I said, well, Neil Armstrong, but I got him. He had to land at night. So you can't get me on those gotcha questions, by golly. I'm too smart for that. Okay, first up, Malin Stacy, DPI SIG Outings Report.
Hey, look at that, it works. Good evening. How many of you have ever been on an outing with this organization? Fair percentage. We had about 22, something like that at the outing Saturday. It was a lot of fun. We went to the Naples Players. We got to watch their dress rehearsal for the show 9 to 5, which is a musical coming up. If you had gone to the first outing we went to with them, which was 42nd Street 2 years ago, I would say this show has as much energy, very close to it at least, as 42nd Street did. So it's a lot of fun. We had, like I said, 23 photographers, and one of their artistic directors, Cole Butcher, was our host down there, and he gave us a lot more access than we've had in the past. I really appreciated his working with us. Backstage tour before the show, we got to go back into the dressing rooms behind the actors that were getting warmed up and ready for the show. You can see pictures there, taking pictures backstage. This is in the green room at the bottom left. That's Cole Butcher by the door there, taking us around. And then the rehearsal. Now, I've got a lot of pictures here, so I'm going to go kind of quick because we don't have a lot of time to spare tonight. So these are from some of the photographers that went. I don't have pictures from all of them, but I have quite a few from some of them, and you can see it was quite an experience. I presume that most of you know the movie 9 to 5. The story here follows that pretty well, but it's done with singing and dancing and really interesting, I think.
They're stringing them along.
Yeah. He's getting poisoned here. Some of the backstage crew here, we had pictures from different parts of the theater. Some of the dancing that these guys did was just great. I've got this one from Eileen. Is Eileen here tonight? Where is that?
Backstage somewhere.
Backstage, okay.
Oh, you know what? That looks like it's the stage manager's booth.
For Price?
No, for Kizzy, for the Kizzy.
Kizzy? I didn't think we got up there, but maybe.
We were looking through a glass and then there was a mirror on the opposite side.
Yeah. It's a cool picture.
Pulled her over.
You can see the actors warming up before the show, getting loose. And all of you can do that, right? Rich DeBella's pictures. Diana Hunter's pictures. This guy was taking notes in the audience section, part of the production team. This is Bert's pictures. Art David's pictures. I always wanted to be an elf. Kim Elliott's pictures. Yeah? It was kind of interesting. Cole said before the show, they've got all these actors that are doing this show. They had no idea what a typewriter was. Anne-Marie. This was before they opened up the stage. We were walking around. Gail Dobney. So future outings. We have an outing scheduled, sort of, in May. Jim Robillard is going to host that outing. It will be Burrowing Owls. But the details are a little sketchy right now because he's trying to decide whether we want to go in the morning or in the evening. He says the owls are more active in the evening, and he doesn't want to know, he wants to know what else might work. So it's in the planning stages, and as we get closer, we'll have more information for you. There's also a possibility to do an independent outing. That is, if you want to go and take pictures and send them to me, we'll put them up on the website for the Swamp Buggy races. The next Swamp Buggy race is April 4th at 3 in the afternoon. I went to the last one on February 22nd. I had a great time, but I had access that you cannot get. I was right down next to the water. I have a neighbor who's a friend who I did some favor for, and she got me in. I don't know that I'll be able to get in again, and you certainly won't be able to get in. But you can get great shots from the stands and from around the end where the VIP area is if you want to do that. And I'll show you kind of what I did. And this kind of goes along with last month's presentation on telling stories, because that's what I did with this. So, now I need to get over here. I don't think it's not coming up there. Nope. Okay, let me close this up and get this up. Where is it? There it is.
Down in Naples where the sawgrass grows tall, there's a muddy little kingdom and she rules over all. Miss Swan Buggy Queen smiles and waves to the crowd. That big old gator mascot stomping loud and proud. The crowd goes wild on the sun-baked shore. This ain't just a race day, it's a Florida lore. Now tip your hat to the starters, waving flags in the heat, and the timers clocking fractions of a muddy heartbeat. But the real unsung heroes wear the orange and the black, the safety crew that rushes when there ain't no turning back. They pull them from the water, they drag them through the mile. These men and women brave enough to run into the fire. Swan Buggy Glory, mud flying high, Florida redneck racing under big old sky. Alligator water, salt grass and clay. This is Naples, baby, and it's Swan Buggy Day. Then come the Jeeps rolling slow through the pit, full with thunder, not quite famous, not just yet. They churn through the turns and they hold their own line. Ain't the fastest on the course, but Lord, they shine. And the slow ducks waddling like they own the track. Mud to the bellies and they ain't looking back. The crowd gets a chuckle, the kids start to holler. A slow duck in the swamp is worth every dollar. But hold on now, hold on now. You hear that rumble coming low, feel the ground start trembling. Here come the fast ducks and they're ready to go. Now the fast ducks hit the water like a cannonball flung. Rooster tails of glory and the smell of burnt lung. They're calling out each other from the start to the gate. You think you can beat me, boy, we'll settle it straight. Around the corner, hard left, spray 20 feet high. Waterfalls are muddy brown against a blue Florida sky. Men and women, drivers with fire in their eyes, dedicated to this sport till the day that they die. Swan Buggy Glory, mud flying high, Florida redneck racing on a big old sky. Alligator water, salt grass and clay. This is Naples, baby, and it's Swan Buggy Day. Swan Buggy Glory, hear that engine scream. Every driver out there living out their dream. Push it to the finish, give it all you got. Naples in February, man, it don't get hot. Now they're charging that straightaway, nothing held back. Mud-soaked warriors flying down that final track. The checkered flag is waving and the winter breaks through. Raised a fist to the heavens under Florida blue. The crowd erupts in thunder, boots stamp on the ground. Ain't a prouder place on earth than this soggy little town. So here's to Naples, Florida, and her Swan Buggy soul. To the queen and the safety crew and the timers on the road. To the slow ducks and the fast ducks and the Jeeps in the mud. To the brave hearts that run hard through the water and blood. Come February, come March, when that green flag cracks, you'll find us in the Swan Boys, and we ain't never coming back.
Stop this and start it over.
Okay. So that's a story, yeah.
Do you buy tickets ahead of time or just show up and buy them at the
You can buy tickets online. Go look for Swan Buggy races online. They're $30 a piece for grandstand. You want to buy a VIP ticket, it's $125. That gets you into the pits before the race and special seating under a tarp, which I didn't have. Yeah,
Where'd you get that music?
I created the music. Now, if you were on our AI session a week ago Tuesday, I showed how I did that. Now, I gotta say, I've been getting into that more and more, and it's not hard to do, but it adds so much to a slideshow. Particularly if you get the song to go along with what your topic is, like I did here, and then match up your slides with the beat and so forth. It's not really that hard to do if you do a little video editing anyway, you can do it. Are you interested in having me do a session about how to do all that stuff? Is that something that, how many of you would like to do that for a general meeting some night? Probably after May, June, something like that is what we're looking at next. Okay, what's up next, Sonny?
Us.
Us! Oh. Anybody got an outing idea? Please let me know. We're working on some others.
It's us.
It's us.
Okay, next up, Jim Robillard, Travel Photography, Europe.
Well, this is a joint presentation, right?
You got your points?
Yes, sir, yeah, it is. It's a joint presentation, Jim and
Oh, yeah,
Malin.
it's like the comedy hour. You know, all these screens here. Hold on. No, but I gotta switch this one.
Gotta keep our YouTubers in mind.
Yeah. All right, so, see if our YouTubers can hear us. Yes, they do. So Malin and I decided to put a presentation together about traveling. Malin went to Africa just recently in January, and I went to Europe for a month last June. So I know many of you have traveled, so we thought it would be interesting to just not go through how we planned it, the equipment we took, some of the issues we ran into, and just kind of do a run through on that. Obviously, his was with a group, so yours was kind of planned out.
It's a group of
Mine, I went with another couple, Joe Parisi, who some of you know, and his wife, and Judy and I. And so we planned it ourselves and then had a travel agent just book the various flights, hotels, and trains and stuff. So we'll take you through that and go from there. How do we do this? Just hit the button.
Slide the screen. Slide the screen. There you go.
Oh, how about that? So one of the things is before you go, you kind of have to decide what kind of story you're going to tell. So whether it's landscape in this particular case, street photography, because each of these choices is going to determine part of your planning, but also the equipment you're going to take. Architecture, you know, obviously Europe, there's a lot of good architecture to take.
You got the slums of Nairobi.
Nairobi, lots of great architecture there. Culture, you know, what amazed me going over there, you know, I never went to, of the four of us, I'm the only one that never went to France or Italy or Spain. I always, for work, went to England. So all this was new, but everybody else had been to all these places before. So, you know, for me, it's like, oh, look at this stuff. I was amazed at how much access you have in the museums to get kind of pictures.
When you get into the culture in Kenya, this is the Sai culture. Part of their culture is jumping. It's part of singing and jumping, and the person that jumps the highest gets the girls. You're go home alone.
Again.
With the bad back.
Yeah, with a bad back, yeah. Food, you know, that's a big deal. Every one of these pictures here, though, is taken with an iPhone, right? Yours are too.
Yeah,
right.
not an iPhone.
So, you know, oh yeah, you're an Android.
Other phones work.
Yeah, so, you know, that's part of the storytelling. Animals.
These are all from Spain, right?
Yeah. They were in the zoo there. It's amazing.
Animals obviously is a special category in terms of what you want to prepare for, and we'll talk more about that.
And you know, especially with the equipment. So for pre-planning, what we did, because Joe and Barb lived in Italy for 5 years, so they speak Italian fluently. And since Judy, Joe, and Barb had been there, you know, they knew where they wanted to take me. So we did the old-fashioned way, which was we sat around the table for 2 nights with the guidebooks and the maps, doing the whole deal, picking out the destinations. And literally, we did not put an end date to the trip. We sat there, we went through Barcelona, we went through Italy, we went through France, all the places we wanted to go, how many days that we needed to accomplish our objective in each of these. So like we spent 5 days in Venice. So it was, and then that was the end of the trip, and it ended up being a month. That's not normally how you would do it. And then we had AAA flush it out in terms of planes, trains, and automobiles. We ended up driving through Italy and France, which offers you a lot of great opportunities, by the way, for, side trips, particularly since they knew the territory. So, and then, we revised it after AAA came back, booked everything. One thing the travel planner doesn't do, of course, is book all the museums. And a lot of them, I would highly recommend skip the line if you're doing that. Getting the special access or booking a private tour. That really helps cut down the lines. We went in June, so it wasn't all that bad as opposed to going, say, in August. And then we did use a private guide. Joe and I, and we'll talk about this a little later, did hire a private guide for a day in Venice to start our trip, where he was a fashion photographer and he took Joe and I out for half a day. And so that really helped.
For going to Africa, you want to be concerned about your health, what you might need in regards to your health, and any special documents you might need to take. Documents for Europe is changing as well. There are, like in Germany, you need special visas to get into the country now. We flew through there, so we didn't need them, but be aware of that if you're going to be traveling. You need your passport and your international driver's license in Europe. That will cover you. In Africa, you need what's called an ETA in your passport. You have to sign up online with the Kenya government to get your ETA. It's like a visa. It requires they know where you're going to stay, how long you're going to be there, and what the purpose of the travel is. In terms of health planning, we looked at several opportunities for this. Joe Carmel recommended that we get certain shots and so forth. We consulted with, I have a nephew who's in the state health department here in Naples, and he knew of a private company that would provide health guidance. As it turns out, we found out about Costco health planning services, Costco travel medicine for $40 per person. They take your medical history and you tell them where you're going and how long you're going to be there, and they come up with a consultation for you. They have recommendations and requirements. For us, malaria and yellow fever were the main things. We got pills for malaria, and my wife and I got different ones because of our medical health. Yellow fever, we couldn't get shots because we're too old. Our brains would swell. So instead, they gave us yellow fever waivers, documents that we could show, and they recommended DEET because of the mosquitoes. Turns out mosquitoes were not much of a problem where we were. And then evacuation insurance, if you are somewhat unhealthy or have had heart issues, for example, and you might need to be flown out of someplace remote in a helicopter, that costs a lot of money. You may want to get insurance for that. As it turns out, the resort we were in Kenya already prepaid that for their guests. And so we didn't need to get it.
And so for us, during the month, each one of the four of us had some sort of sickness, cold, whatever, during the month. And so you got to remember, in Europe, the pharmacy is behind the counter. So, you have to go to the counter and be interviewed, and it's not just walk in and buy some, cold medicine. So that was interesting. Joe drove Italy and I drove France. I think we're still allowed to drive. We only got a couple.
I did have an issue while I was in Kenya. I did have a doctor come in to see me at 2:00 in the morning. He didn't live anywhere nearby. The resort had to take a Jeep and go get him an hour away and bring him back and then bring him home again. But he took care of me and I was ready to go the next day.
So in terms of planning, the other thing that is really helpful is to just go online and do some research. Now, we went the traditional route, just using Google, and we did book, as I said, the local guide, that's the local guide, critiquing Joe's photo because, Joe didn't do very good, I tell you, 5 minutes into meeting the guy, it might have been 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning in St. Mark's Square. And, we take a picture and he says, let me see your camera. Well, that's no good. I'm going, this is gonna be a long day. I was expecting it to be more of a photo tour, but he actually critiqued our compositions, looked at everyone. He did not let us, you guys need to learn, it's different here in Venice. He didn't let us take pictures. You'll see some of them later. No sky. It's all about the water and the reflections. And so because he was a fashion photographer, he had a whole different outlook, composition than we did. And then, so that was really kind of interesting and fun. We learned a lot. We did 20,000 steps, 5 hours, and it was 600 euros for the two of us.
And Joe, Jim mentioned Google Street View, which is great for Europe. This is actually Google Street View for Kenya. And I tell you, you go down the road and it looks exactly the same. But it is there, it's available.
Yeah, I tried to get a job driving the car through,
So guides in Africa, we had excellent guides. The Maasai have organized themselves. They have set up a guide training facility. They have different levels of guides, and we had excellent guides with us. These 3 guys stayed with us the whole time we were there. They didn't tell us how to take pictures or critique our photographs, but they sure as hell knew where to find the animals and get us to them so that we could take pictures of them. And so that was their part of the job. I'm sure Jim's guide got him to the Bridge of Sighs without any trouble.
And you'll see, he wouldn't let us take that picture, by the way. You'll see the picture from the Bridge of Sighs. He said, everybody takes that picture. You need a unique picture. And so I'll show you what he did to us. When Christine, Diana, and Phil and Joe and I went to Costa Rica, that's a whole different deal. It's more like what Malin went to. And there, of course, while we went with one master guide, it's really the local guides that take you to and have access to the different locales. So you've gone with them, Bert, right? And it's, when you went to Colombia with, and it's really the local guides that they provide and really have the knowledge, take you to know where the birds are, and get you in places that you're never going to find. It was the same in Venice. He had places, he had obviously done fashion shoots, and you wouldn't find those places. So it's well worth it. However, there's a new way. Art turned us on to this. Where's Art? Art turned us on to this. Yeah.
You can research your photography planning now using AI. And it doesn't matter which LLM you want to use. You want to use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or in this case, I used Copilot. You can use any of them. So, large language model, an AI program. You can find them online. They're probably in your browser now. You can't get away from them anymore. They're on your phone.
In your browser now, if you're in Safari, it'd be Gemini. If you're up on in the top, ChatGPT, any of those are large language models.
Yes. And you got questions about that, send me an email. I'll tell you how to get into it. So this was the prompt that I gave the AI to go do this task for me. You tell it what you want it to act like. That is, you're an expert photography planning assistant. And that kind of sets its mode so it knows how to get the information you want. Next slide. And then this is the result that I got, part of it. It went on to pages. But it tells you, we're going to the Venice area Audubon Rookery on March 27th, right, Larry?
That's it.
Yeah, and it's a prime time. There's active nesting birds there. There's the sunrise, the sunset, practical use of the rookery. The best time is 30 to 90 minutes before sunset.
Be there at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, sorry we missed that one. Anyway, it goes on. There's other events in the area. It tells you about that, all kinds of things that you can get out of this. So that's another thing that you can tap into now.
So, let the punishment fit the crime. You know, when you rent a car in Europe, it holds 5 passengers, but it only holds luggage for 3. Now, I don't know how that works, but there's Joe and I trying to fit, and we knew we were gonna be gone for a month, so we only had 21-inch bags. But there are 4 of them, but it only holds 3 in the back. So that meant the gals had to have a bag between them in the back seat, because Joe and I had our camera bags. So, you know, that makes, you know, your choice of equipment really needs to fit, what your accomplishments are gonna be. Are you going for the birding in Costa Rica? Are you going to Europe for a month, much lighter equipment load, or are you going on a safari?
So for Africa, I had limitations. One leg of the trip was on a smallish plane, like 12, 15, maybe 20 seat, no, 15 seater maybe. Because I took 2 planes to get us back to Nairobi. 33 pounds total was all each of us could bring onto the plane. So that's your suitcase and all your camera. What was that? How much did that, what was I talking to earlier? How much did that 600 millimeter f4 lens weigh?
11 pounds.
11 pounds. Yeah, that kind of killed it right there.
And my wife carried mine.
And who carried your wife? Is that why her foot hurts now?
Well, she had to stay behind.
So I was, I looked at what you could put under the seat. I want to have my camera in front of me when I'm sitting on the plane. I don't want to have it up somewhere because it could get checked. And I don't want to check because my wife went to Ireland and her bags didn't. So I want it to go under the seat in front of me. Well, we flew Lufthansa and I found out only 15 3/4 inches length under the seat. I had to get my camera gear in that if I was going to do it that way. And that what I had to carry before was going to go with my 200, 600, couldn't do it. So I downsized to APS-C, Sony A6700.
He just wanted an excuse for a new camera.
Yeah, excuse me,
Come
camera.
on.
I had a 70-200 lens that I wasn't using much. I traded that in. I got a 70-350 APS-C camera, plus the 18-35 that I got with the camera. And I had my phone for wide angle. And I'll show you a little video later. We'll see how it worked. Go ahead. This is the other gear that I brought. 3 SD cards, only 3. I brought a 2 terabyte SSD and a card reader. I used my Apple 12-inch iPad to transfer images every night to the SSD drive. I had a triple high-power USB-C charger, plus a quad low-power charger, plus an 87-watt battery and cables. I had filters I never used, several cleaning cloths. Those are important in Africa, and it all fits in here. And it all goes under the Lufthansa seat, except the tripod that I bought. That's a tripod. Which I plan to use for getting water shots down low and maybe stars at night. Never used it. But without the tripod, that all goes under the seat in the front. Okay? So here's an example. See if that'll play. Just touch it.
Touch it.
Touch it? No. Not going to play. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there it goes.
So this is me in the back here in the Jeep. And that's how close the lions were as we were driving around. Literally, I had a lion in front of me at one point that was as far away as that tape. Right there, looking him straight in the eyes. Apparently, I didn't look very tasty. I'll have to work on that. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, see me in the back there with my camera. Okay, excellent. So, how do other people do it? I got to thinking of Larry when I saw Don with his gear. You notice what he's got on his belt here? He looks really cool. Yeah, he looks really cool, doesn't he? Boy, were his arms tight. He's got 3 Canon cameras, 100 to 500 f4, 5 to 7.1. All these other lenses. He had a Sony RX100, an iPhone, He had a Canon R6 set up for Astro, which he never used. He had a tripod and an 8 terabyte network attached system, SSD drive to back up all stuff.
But he moved.
Yeah, he moved around pretty well, but he was happy sitting in the Jeep.
But when the lion comes.
They had to go close. His wife had a Canon R8 with a 100, 400, and a 24, 105. My research said 400 millimeters was all I needed where we were going. I had a 350 on an APS-C camera, which was about that. Excellent. Oh, and AJ there had an APS-C camera as well, and all he brought was 100, 400 full frame lens. Worked fine for him. So what didn't work? The one thing I was unhappy with is I had no way to do my raw images, like scan through them on my iPad. I could bring them up in Lightroom and look at them kind of one at a time or two at a time, but I couldn't look at a whole bunch and see which one was the best. Also, the APS-C lenses are relatively slow, and there was some dark night scenes where I really couldn't get any pictures of them. For John, he had some issues with his 3rd generation batteries for his R5 II, and he forgot to set up his custom settings before he left. That wasn't a problem for me. And I used the same settings I used for shooting birds and flight around here, because things kept moving all the time. He found out with the batteries he had, he couldn't get the full range on his 100, 500 with a converter on it, and he had tired arms, and he got home with 32,000 minutes.
32,000.
I don't think I've seen any from him yet. That was January. Next slide.
Okay, for Europe, I went light. First of all, we had that little car, remember? So, and I also wanted to be more discreet, walking around the cities. So I just went with the R5, the full frame with the 24 to 105 and the 14 to 35 for architecture. Lots of batteries. And then I did not do any backup while I was over there. I didn't want to take an iPad or the computer. So I went with multiple CF Express cards and SD cards. You don't want to, you can get, 1 terabyte cards and you could have done the whole trip, probably with even a 512. But I went with smaller cards so that I could take them out each day or each city anyway, and keep put that in the wallet with the cards and keep that separate from the camera equipment. So at least there was a safety margin there. A polarizing filter, never used it, and as you saw, used the iPhone quite a bit.
I did bring 4 batteries.
So lighter was better, limited space in the car. You got tons of steps, so you don't want to be carrying like your friend John there. That would not be good. Plus, just the safety of having just a bag that's fairly indiscreet. You certainly don't want to put the Canon R5 strap on your camera and advertise that carrying a Canon R5. So, desire to be less obvious.
This is what we packed for both of us to go for 10 days to Africa. Consuelo had her clothes in that relatively small bag on the right, plus the neck pillow. She had clothes in the neck pillow. It zipped up and she had clothes in there, so it was dual purpose. I had my clothes, I was a tripod, and a few other things in the suitcase, and you see the bag, I have my camera here.
So when we went to Costa Rica, of course, that was a whole different deal. You're carrying, and I would highly recommend 2 cameras. You remember the story about Diana when she went to the Galapagos, gets off the boat on the first day and the camera drops in the ocean. So, to have, even if you rent one, and the other thing I would recommend, because when we went on the trip to Costa Rica, the R5 was pretty new. Diana and Christine had 5D 4s or whatever, 3s, whatever. So you were switching between the mirrorless and the regular DSLR. The menus are not the same, the cameras are not the same. So I would highly recommend that if you're taking a second camera, that it's a duplicate or at least in the same family so that the menus are the same. So you're not, freaked out by where's this button. And of course there, I shot with the 150 to 600. Phil and Joe brought their 600, 400. So they had an advantage, when we were in the mangroves. But again, it's really heavy to carry around and you have to back up when the bird is only, where bird is or something. So, I had a little more freedom with that. Both Diana and Christine went with 400s, which is a good option, because they were at 2.8. And there I did use Microsoft Surface, as my backup. So I guess the takeaways are, which size should you use for your memory cards? I recommend smaller and lots of them. Dealing with the weight limit is a problem, particularly on the small planes, whether you're going to Alaska or you're going up to into a safari. Discreet, don't leave your camera in the car, particularly in Europe in the parking lots, even for lunch, don't do that. Take it with you. We did use the hotel safes. Joe would call me every night at 5 o'clock. Have you gotten into the safe? No, so I don't know. It's like, how do you get into this thing? It's crazy. Insurance for equipment and, keep the card and wallet separate.
Where did you put your card wallet?
I carried it on all the time watching the passport.
Have any issues with pickpockets in Italy?
I was paranoid about that. So I had a fanny pack, and I had these elaborate pants with pockets that I could never, even today when I wear them, I can't find my keys, 2 pockets down. So, no, I didn't have any problems because I couldn't find this at that time. That made Joe had to pay because he could find his credit.
Well, you're bigger too.
Yeah. All right. Composition and storytelling.
You got all these pictures, what are you gonna do with them? Just leave them on your computer? What's not?
Well, you could tell a story about reflections. The picture in the right was on with our guide in Venice. He just said, go up to the plate glass window, put the camera, this is the plate glass window, put the camera 90 degrees to the window, and that's the shot you got. The other thing I would say is, particularly when you go into European cities, my best shots are all in black and white because the texture is unbelievable. So think about it. You'll see some later. In terms of the canals, you can see he wanted us to cut the sky off all the time and go for the reflections in the water. So that was his mantra. Repeating patterns, lots of repeating patterns. Easy to do that there.
We had trouble lining up the lions.
How about the monkeys?
The monkeys and everything.
Light and shadow. This shot here, as soon as I saw it with the reflection, I knew that was going to be a black and white shot. So, all these different caverns and caves. So the idea is, telling a story and thinking about, when you're taking the shots, how can I tell the story and have something a little different and unique? This is in the Peggy Guggenheim looking through across the Grand Canal. That's in the Arch of St. Mark's. There's the Bridge of Sighs. He told us not to stand there and take the picture. He said, get down on the bridge, shoot through the bridge at the Bridge of Sighs, because nobody shoots that. Then, of course, Joe and I couldn't get up.
We're still there.
All right. And now what, buddy? And of course, people are, that's a great thing to whether you're in Africa or in Europe, it's just great. We had actually wanted to hire a guy to do street photography in Venice, but we ended up, that guy wasn't available. We ended up with a fashion photographer, but there are tons of opportunities for it. Having the Muslim woman in front of the Catholic Church, this picture. I ended up taking probably half dozen or more pictures of influencers having their picture taken. So throughout, you see all these gals with, their photographer taking pictures of them. And so you can take pictures of the influencer being photographed. It's a lot of fun. So the backup strategy we have is copy before you sleep or have lots of fun. You're going to explain your backup strategy.
This was my backup strategy. I had my iPad, which I have here, with a card reader and a USB connection on it, and it's got both a Lightning and a USB-C plug, so it'll go to most anything, even older ones. 2 terabyte SSD drive like this. That's all there is there, and you just put your cards in the card reader and copy them over. Now, with a full card, 64 gigabyte full card takes about 2 hours to copy over. And I did fill those up a couple of times. So you got to plan for the time to get that done without your iPad running out of power. Calling. We all have to call when we take a lot of pictures, and I've been taking a lot of pictures lately. The outing Saturday, I took 1,200. I took about 8,000 here. I have a couple strategies. What I had to call from was 3 cameras, which was my A6700, my phone, and my wife's phone. 6,071 photos. Yeah, some of them were JPEG copies of raw images. So I downloaded those into 4 directories, one for all the A6700s, one for all the video files that I had, one for all of my phone images, and one for all of Consuelo's phone images. And I imported them all into Lightroom with a tag Kenya, so I could look at them all together at one time, sorted by time, basically. I also created an Exire. Anybody not know what Exire is? No. Okay, Exire is an app that kind of acts like the Lightroom organizer. It scans your photo directories. It provides you with a database of the stuff that's in there. If you've tagged them already, it brings in the tags. It keeps of course, the information about where when the picture was taken, the aperture, and so forth. But also, it scans all of those images and does interpretation of what's in them. An AI interpretation of what's in that image. So afterwards, I can go back in and say, show me all the lions. Or show me, it's not smart enough necessarily to know the difference between a lion and a leopard, but you get the rough idea. Show me all the pictures with water in it, or anything like that. Exire is good for doing those kinds of searches based on the content, which Lightroom is not. So I used an Exire DB just for the Kenya images, separate from all my other images. Next slide. Here's an example of Exire. I don't know what the search was here, but you can see it brings up all the pictures. Create a separate DB, and then you can search by content. Check it out.
Okay, I did it slightly differently. I took 1,500 photos, and Judy took about 1,800 with her iPhone. When I import them, I did them by date and by city. And then what I do is go through them, and I rate them first, just the obvious deletes take out. I rate them 3 to 5 stars. The 5 stars I know I'm going to work on, 4s, probably the 3s, we'll see. And then I do a second pass real quick, knock out anything else that I didn't really think was going to work out. Work on the 5s, work on the 4s. And then when I'm done with those, I copy those into collections, the finished ones. And again, the finished ones are by city. And so it went from 1,500 to 328. And Judy does her own thing. I have her training. Apparently you don't have Consuelo training.
Certainly took about 50 pictures.
Oh. Well, and if you were to look at Judy's pictures, she's an artist and a painter. It's flower boxes, doors, windows, stuff like that. So it's totally different than what I would,
What's next?
I don't know. Editing Africa.
Yeah, I did about 95% of my editing. I did the Lightroom. I didn't use the stars to do that. I just went through and picked the ones I liked, and I picked them. The P button says you picked them, give them a pick flag. And then I would go through those later on. I used about 1% in Photoshop. That was to capture certain things, particularly the images that I took to print later on. I printed copies for my niece. And I used Affinity probably on about 4% of the images for compositions, compositing them and so forth.
What's Affinity?
Affinity is a program that's now owned by Canva. Been around for a long time. It used to be Affinity Photo. Now it's just Affinity Studio, which has photo publications and
InDesign.
InDesign kind of stuff. It's free.
It's kind of a competitor to Lightroom, Photoshop, and InDesign, but it's free.
Yes and no. There's no organizer in it, so
Yeah.
you can only use it for editing. But it's a good editor. Okay.
Okay. So one of the things, how many people have used the masking features in Lightroom? The landscape masking? How many have used the landscape? Okay. I found it really helpful. This was back in June. It's been out for a while. If you're not familiar with it, we're going to just short video here taking you through it, but it's really helpful for these kind of photos. Let's see if it'll play.
Next slide.
Oh, no, you think so?
Yeah.
Oh, you changed?
There you go.
Take you through a quick demonstration. We have here a shot of the one of the canals in Venice. And yes, that building in the back is actually leaning. So let's start out by just taking, using the auto function to kind of give a starting point for our image here. I like to move up the temperature just a bit. So we'll put that at 6,000. And then we'll go here to the, and you see we're at ISO 100, so we don't have to worry too much about noise in this one. But we're going to go into this button here below the histogram that says masking. And one of our choices here right at the top is landscape. And so we'll let it do its thing. It's going to go through and find the various surfaces. Now this is not real new to Lightroom. These images were edited in June, so it's been in Lightroom for at least almost a year now. So as you can see, what happens here is it comes back with landscape mask options, and we're going to check all of them. And as we check them, you see where it's going to create a mask. Go down to the bottom where it says create masks, and it's going to create all of the different masks. So we'll go to the top one, which is sky. And you can see the overlay there, so we know what we're working on. And really, not too much to do in this. I may push the temperature down a little bit to the cool side. And then I just want to run just a little bit of dehaze. If you run too much dehaze, it goes crazy. So, just a little bit to take that out. And then we'll move to the next mask, which is the architecture. And you see there with the overlay what we're going to be working with. And certainly there, back to the top here, definitely want to open the shadows. So we'll open the shadows. May give it a touch of exposure just to help that. Of course, you can see that over here on the left, we're starting to get a little overexposed. We'll bring down the highlights. And of course, since this is non-destructive, if we don't like that, we can always come back to that. And we just may go down here and add a little bit of clarity and texture. Just a little bit. So then on to our next mask, which is the vegetation. Now the vegetation isn't real obvious when you first look at it, but there's bushes here around this window, up at the top. You have all the algae. It's picked out, these flower baskets here, so let's see what we can do with this. We're going to bump that up. You can see immediately that, particularly down here on the steps, that brightened that up a lot. That's exactly what we want. The unfortunate part is that this is too bright and this is too bright. So we have the ability to modify the mask. So we're going to hit subtract, and we're going to subtract with the brush. And it's going to create a negative brush, and we're just going to brush over that. And you can see that both those then get subtracted. And we're good to go on that. So down to the next mask, which is going to be our water here. And, maybe we want to open that up a little bit. And I find the water to be a little bit dirty. So, we'll reflect the blue sky by adding a little bit of blue into that. And then we'll move down to artificial ground, which is going to be, I believe, this road over here. And all we need is just maybe a little bit of exposure. So we'll brighten that up. So that's how you use the landscape masking feature. Now we'll go on and finish it off by creating another mask. We'll use the brush. We'll highlight these boats here, both sides, and we'll brighten that up a little bit. Maybe open the shadows up just a little bit, somewhere in there. Again, because it's all non-destructive, you can go back and change that at another time, or go back and, if you don't like it, we're going to create another mask with the brush. And we're just going to highlight this edge here, and we're going to take that down in exposure a little bit to kind of balance that out. And maybe another mask with the brush where we just kind of highlight this area and just brighten this up just a little bit. Like so. And so at this point, I think we can call it enough on that. We'll go back and make some other changes. One thing we want to do is go down to the sky and look at what we want to do with the luminance. You can brighten the sky, brighten the water if you want. Maybe just a little bit. And then, of course, saturation, you could play with that. You could make it way blue or not blue. We don't need really to do anything there. The one thing I do want to do, though, is the shadows are still on the cool side. And so I'll go down to color grading on the shadows, and we're going to brighten them up. Not on the red side, but more on the yellow side. And then we're just going to check our verticals here. This is actually pretty good. This building here is actually leaning, so our verticals are actually pretty good. But if you did need to adjust the verticals, we could do that just slightly. constrain the crop to get that out of there. And at this point, we're pretty good. We could still play with perhaps opening this up a little bit with another you can go back in, create another mask if you want. Maybe something smaller. Just highlight that area if you wanted, and brighten that up just a little bit. Same with back in here, perhaps. We can create another, brighten that up. So let's just, before we go here, take a look at the before and after. And there we have it. I hope you found that helpful.
I know how Jim works.
Yeah.
So when he goes and puts this back out for you to watch as a video afterwards, he'll put the whole thing together so you can see the whole presentation. He'll take out the break, in other words. So if you want to go look at what he did with that all at one time, you can find it in the video.
So the other thing is, rather than having a box full of photos and stuff, putting a Shutterfly book or blurb book together is really important. Judy's really a master at it. I don't do it. She's done it for all of our trips, 40 years of marriage, all those kinds of big events. And, what she does is she kind of, these are some of the things you need to think about. Curating with care, telling a story, to do it, through chronology or some sort of theme, say you were doing reflections or whatever. I actually want to do one book based on the black and white photos that were taken on our trip. She is really good at adding the details down to, and you'll see in the pictures of some of the book pages, taking pictures of things like business cards or favorite restaurants, so that those are part of the design, so that you remember if you ever go back or people want to visit and take note of those. And then, of course, the design consistency. So, she's really good at all these little final touches because she has a degree in design. So I let her do that. So she alternated between big establishing images, some of these intimate details, and then some of our dinners. So here's a look at the book. When I talk about, some of these places where we ate, some of the pictures, again, where we ate, some of the hotels. So she's really good at that. You did a different.
Yeah, I did a couple of things. I showed you the Safari Cameraman video last month, and that's an example of pretty much the same as what I did with the Swamp Buggies. It's stills with music. Create the music, put the stills, match up the stills with the music. I'm finding that to be very useful for me, and I love to make music for these things. I just made 3 songs today for a fellow I'm working with. You hadn't even booked it, would you? I don't know if you know or not, but I did the illustrations for this book. We just got the production run in-house this week, so we're starting to distribute them. And so I did 3 music songs for this guy so he can share them with his friends and have them know that the book is available. But I like to do that. I did that with the Safari Cameraman, just as kind of a thing to introduce you to my trip. But then I wanted to share the animals with more people. So animals, I negotiate the lyrics for the song with AI. The lyrics and the style are put into Suno, which is the music generator. The lyrics drive the image selection in this case. But the lyrics are driven by what images I have, so it's a 2-way street. And then I do the image and prompt in AI video, I assemble it in Resolve, and then send it up to YouTube.
Woke up to the sunrise, painting gold across the plain. Elephant after the rain. Zebras in their stripes are dancing 2 by 2. Giraffes reaching skyward like they're touching something true. Oh, the animals of Kenya, wild and free. Every creature tells a story, comes alive for you and me. From the lions in the shadows to the birds up in the trees, there's a song in every heartbeat of this land of majesty. Hippos in the water, lazy in the heat. Baboons with their babies, oh so sweet. Vultures circling slowly in the air, while the buffalo are grazing, peaceful everywhere. Oh, the animals of Kenya, wild and free. Every creature tells a story, comes alive for you and me. From the crowned crane standing tall beside the shining lake, there's a wonder in each moment, every breath we take. And the hornbills call their greetings through the morning air, while the dik-tiks hide so shyly in their lair. Jackals sending vultures from the feast. Lion cubs are playing while the pride finds its peace. Oh, the animals of Kenya, wild and free. Every creature tells a story, comes alive for you and me. From the sunrise to the sunset, what a gift to see all the wonders of creation, living wild and
Just to reiterate, there's only one little short piece of video in there. Everything is his still photos that have been generated with it. The video is generated by AI.
Is the music generated with AI?
Yep.
So do you?
But from my ideas, my putting the ideas into AI, it comes up with a set of lyrics that rhyme.
And it's synced to the music, so when you talk about giraffes, they're.
No, you gotta do that manually.
You create the music with your ideas,
Then put the
then put the slides
into
in
that.
where the music is.
So if you look back at what he did with the swamp buggy thing, which he just stayed with stills, what he did on this one is take the still, run it through the AI for each individual image, and get a 3 to 5 second AI video of that still image.
And then the sun goes, actually,
Does it, do the lyrics synchronize with the slides that you present?
other way around.
Or you gotta do it, you gotta do it.
Synchronize the images with the lyrics.
Okay.
Same with the swamp buggy.
Is the software expensive or free or what do you buy?
That's a good question. No, the music generation software is $8 a month. The video generation software that I used for this was about, I'm gonna guess it was about $1 per clip. And there's probably, 30, 40 clips in there.
Yeah.
So,
Generally,
cost me less than it did to make
Yeah.
Judy's book.
Yeah. Judy's book was $150, $140.
How many did you get?
Two.
I didn't get mine yet.
No. Christmas.
So there's another option on that too. While you're there, buy a book. It's got great pictures in it.
and again, I'll just reiterate, we did cover how he does the music in our AI meeting. So you can go and look at that video, because it is, you have to know a little bit about music, but most of it is the same as what we're talking about here. It's all the pre-planning, asking the ChatGPT or Claude, here's where I went, here's what I did, I want 3 verses, and, I want a chorus, and it comes back and does it for you.
Yeah.
And then you feed that into the.
You always have to go fix it, because it.
Yeah.
Is it limited use? Once you obtain the song, you have unlimited use of the song?
If you have a paid, if you get the free session, you have limited use on it. But if you're gonna pay the $8 a month, you can use it commercially. I'm doing songs, like I said, for the book today. He's in Isla Morada. Guess what? The music generator does not know how to pronounce Isla Morada. So I had to come up with a phonetic spelling in the lyrics. You always have to adjust something.
It also doesn't know how to pronounce mailer.
Yeah, that's right. Spouses.
All right, spouses. So you're traveling with your spouse to Africa. What happened?
Yeah, well, this trip was my wife's idea. That's my wife, Consuelo. This trip was her idea because it was being put together by Up With People folks. She was in Up With People back in the 60s and has stayed in contact with them. They're a worldwide group, so they're all over the place. So she did the research on Kenya and the climate to know what clothes to bring. And I did the research on air travel and what documents we needed, plus my photography stuff, of course. She had to convince me to go. I was not going to go at the outset. A lot of money. Go ahead.
Mine was a little different. I had to be convinced to go as well, but I'm glad I did. So ours was, you have breakfast. Joe and I would either do the museums, or Joe and I would go out and photograph while Barb and Judy shop. So that was a good trade-off, although expensive. And we had our lunch experiences and then nap time. And because in Europe, dinner doesn't really start till 7, so you have that 5 to 7 after your nap's over. It's a good time to also go and explore. And then, the day trips, driving, because they lived in Pisa for 5 years, they know Tuscany pretty well. And of course, being fluent in Italian also helps. So, that was fun. But then we built in the dedicated photo day, which was really great in Venice. And this is what your spouse does to you. She found out that Joe and I have worldwide offices in every museum in Europe. Come into my office, Joe, while they're looking at something we don't want to look at.
Jim, when the ladies went shopping, did you have to rent another car to bring everything around?
Well, we tried to get them to do the limit that. We tried to limit that, but no dice. Things I would do differently, I would definitely take a platypod. We couldn't take a tripod. I would definitely take the platypod for night shots. These are shots by Jose Alberto Braz. It's easy to take night shots there because of all the little bridges. You could put the platypod on the bridge, and take these wonderful night shots. So
Nice work, Ben. What's a platypod?
right there, there it is. So it's a little plate. We put the ball head on it, so it easily would fit in your luggage because it's just a flat plate. That's a really right stuff ball head on there. I wouldn't use that. That's too heavy. But the platypod sells ball heads. And so, it's just something you can carry around with you, flat, and you just set it on something. Yeah.
With flexible legs, they're small.
The little Jobies, yeah, you could do that too. Those work as well. The downside of those is with the heavier mirrorless camera, I'd be a little nervous about that. I'd rather have the platypod.
Or you can put this in your pocket.
You could. You look a little weird, but.
I look weird anyway.
Okay.
So here's what we would have done different. We would have planned a day stopover because 38 hours in the air total was too much. Yeah. We had 18 hours each way. We went through Frankfurt, like 9 hours to Frankfurt and 9 hours to Nairobi, sort of thing. And we had basically a 4-hour layover in Frankfurt, which was not enough time to even get your head down to try and sleep, and I don't sleep well anyway. On the way back, Frankfurt to Miami. Okay.
That's it.
That's it.
Question. You know, a lot of you have traveled, so what are some of your thoughts? You got a question?
When are you guys going next, and are you going together?
I gotta ask his wife.
Yeah. Going to Aruba.
We're going to the Oregon coast in October.
Ooh. And we've done the Oregon coast. You know, both of us had RVs. And so when you're traveling in your RV, it's, you know, totally different. It's, you know, bring whatever you want, you know. It's, they've got a lot of shoes, you've got a lot of cameras. That's the way it works.
That's right. My brother did Africa for about 10 years in a row, and he found the best way to get there is to take a repositioning cruise to Spain or anywhere in Europe. And he would go to Spain, and then there's no jet lag, there's no time zone adjustment. You just get on a plane and go to South Africa, and you feel good.
Except my wife gets terribly seasick. She gets car sick. She had to ride in the front of the Jeep so she wouldn't throw up. So a cruise would not be a good solution for us.
It's smart to use that excuse so you always get the best seat.
Yeah. Oh, yes, very important. The thing we discovered in doing our research was, at this age, you just walk up to the gate in the airline's terminal and you say, I want priority seating, and you go on the plane first. Don't worry about check bags going anywhere, you know, carry-on bags going anywhere, any of that stuff, just bring them on with you. We never had a problem with any of that. We just got on the plane right after the folks in the wheelchairs, which maybe means we're next.
You mentioned that you weren't able to review your raw photos because you were working with an iPad. So what would you do differently next time to still be light, but be able to review those photos?
So I used the Microsoft Surface. The question is, for the YouTube people, the question is, what would you do different with the raw photos so you could work on them while you're on the trip? When we went to Costa Rica, I brought the Microsoft Surface because it's in Windows, and of course it has, and it's small, it's tablet size, and so I could be in Lightroom and do whatever I needed to do in Lightroom. And so that was, you know, my solution. You know, it's funny that they, you know, now you have Photoshop on the iPad, but, you know, they don't really, Lightroom, they always want the photos to go up to the cloud, and you don't, usually you have pretty good internet, but not always. Other questions?
When you went to Africa, was there ever an option to buy more weight to carry more camera equipment if you wanted to?
Bigger plane then. No, not usually. I mean, you've traveled, right, Larry, with the little planes? It's always a problem.
15 passenger, you're probably on a Cessna Caravan, single engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's winning.
Leaked a lot of oil. But seriously, I took my 600, big camera bag, took 2 cameras, like 3 lenses. My wife did carry my 500 at the time of that.
Yeah.
My brother known me.
If there's 2 of you and only one of you is a photographer, you can work it out.
Yeah, and we went with Talc Tours, and they had given us a bag that we could, and we filled that up. You know, if it fit, we could take it.
This is like here for 10 pounds.
Okay,
Suitcase came in at 17 pounds, so I was at 27 pounds. My wife's gear was 14 pounds, so she could have carried some.
Yeah, and so that's some of the advantage going with the Fujis, going with the OM1s, you know, because you're also with the lens, you're getting like in the OM systems, you're getting 2x, whatever the lens is. So you can have a pretty light and small equipment set and get, you know, good range.
And all of the small buggies I shot with this camera this whole time. So you don't need a big camera.
Art,
I've heard that if you're overweight in your baggage, you can put lenses and things in a jacket. That's true?
yes,
Probably.
yes. And I bought one of those Scott vests that had 1 million pockets in it for exactly that reason too. If you're, concerned about the weight, it's that, and or you give your camera Ozempic or something.
I think we better end this because the nice guy has to talk.
Oh, who's that?
Me.
Oh, yeah. Any other questions? Because I know a lot of you have traveled. Any other suggestions?
Yeah.
We just got back from Africa. There were 12 photographers on the trail. And we were in Johannesburg, which is not one of the cities we walked into that. $20,000, $30,000 cameras hanging from the neck. So we had a choice of leaving them in a hotel or carrying the equipment with us. So we left them in the hotel. So fortunately, when I travel like that, I carry something called Safe Pack. I'm not going to be heard of it, or they take luggage. And inside the luggage, they have a wire interlock mesh, so it can't be cut. They also have hip-proof zippers, and they have locks on the bags. Plus, they have a way you can actually lock your bag to the frame of the bag. So here we are, 4 photographers, probably with about $80,000 worth of equipment inside the suitcase and underneath the bed, locked the bed. And it's just
We're talking about, for the YouTube people, we're talking about, Joe's talking about safety. And, it is a problem because I just read a blog with Jeff Cable shooting the Olympics, and one of his buddies staying at the Marriott in Milan, had the camera equipment stolen out of the hotel room by a hotel employee. And, he got it back only because he had the Apple AirTag, and the police were there right away, and they tracked the camera equipment, and it was still in the hotel. So he was lucky. Frank?
Well, especially more plastic mail. You're definitely a hot streaming place, Florida. You're staying in a hotel, it's air conditioned.
Oh.
Obviously, you're not gonna leave your lenses and everything in the car. If you're gonna stay in the hotel, keep your lenses in a bag, I wrap towels around my bag and I put them in the closet with AC vent. Because there's nothing worse than going out from a 70-degree apartment, a condo, a hotel, into 90-degree, 2,000 humidity outdoors, and that's waiting for 45 minutes to get lunch to people.
Yeah, so Frank's, just for the YouTube people, so Frank's was wrap the lens in towels, because down here we have the humidity issue of condensation when you take it out of an air-conditioned room. Worst thing, like, get up in the morning, you're gonna shoot the kingfishers like Joe and I were gonna do, and when you go out, it's 100% humidity, and you're sitting there waiting for 20 minutes for the lens to warm up to get rid of the fog while kingfishers doing its thing.
When I do the early morning shoots, 5.5 marathons, I would take my camera equipment, stick in the garage overnight so that I can race down.
Cold.
Yeah, you could leave it in the garage.
Yep. You're in the garage in Florida. So
The other thing is that when it was open to tourists, my friends didn't want to walk around. Afraid that, if you ever get the chance to do that, you should just forget about the tours and just walk around and think. It's much better.
where is it?
Cuba.
In Cuba?
Yeah.
Not to worry, Cuba, because you don't want to get caught doing something bad in jail, really.
Well, we're not gonna.
How do you know?
Yeah.
It was this one.
Well, the thing is that, Betty said that you just take pictures. They just want to know where you're going and where you've been, so you've got proof.
I was there in 2000. It wasn't much of a problem. This is Cuba for the YouTube folks we're talking about. Wasn't much of a problem for me. I did get fingerprinted by the police, but only because somebody stole a radio out of my car and they wanted to make sure it wasn't me.
It wasn't, there was no problem going in and out of the customs. It's better than some of the places I've been to, going in and out.
Yeah. Chip?
Chip?
One thing I can tell you, if you're worried about them with your cameras, put a Nikon strap on it to while you're
People and Nikon people out there suggesting you use a Nikon strip, but they won't steal that.
How many of you had images in this competition recently? We're done.
Okay.
Because we're running out of time. Yeah, good. So let's talk about that a little bit. I got to get over here.
I gotta get over here.
You want to introduce me?
No, you go ahead.
In January to February. How many again entered in this competition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What's wrong with the rest of you? I think it was pretty good competition. I'll give you some numbers on it. We had 192 entries. We had 3 judges, Art David, Jim Robillard, and Richard Tyndall. There were 546 scores produced. The average highest score was a 19, and the average lowest score was 10. There was one image that got a 1, which was justified because the maker had left their name on the image. Don't do that. We had 48 people that participated, some of whom are here. And we ended up with 28 blue ribbons and 28 yellow ribbons, and Richard told you can't do that. You're supposed to have 10% and 15%. Well, there were so many ties at the bottom of the 10% that it evened out. We had 95 current members who have entered competitions, any of the competitions we have on record. We only go back about 5, 6 years because of the way we have data. We have 107 current members who have never entered a competition. Why? Yeah, you. Why? Why?
I guess I generally don't think that my images stack up when I watch these.
How do you know? Yeah, how do you know? Maybe they don't, but find out. Find out, and then it gives you an opportunity to look and see how you're doing, and you can improve from there. And we try to make this about education as much as possible. You can get ribbons, but that ain't what it's about. We have 107 most entries by one person, held the champion. 107 entries in all our competitions, and her average score was only 14.7. So you probably can do better than that. We have Phil Wheat has the most ribbons with 60. His average score is only 15. But he's got a lot of ribbons, blues and yellows. And the highest average score of any person who's entered images is 15.0, and that's, is 16.4, and that's Ross Hubbard. And the caveat there, it has to be 10 or more images that somebody's entered, because if they put one image in and they got a blue ribbon, well, that doesn't. We've got 4,188 images that we've had entered in competitions that I have records on. So in this competition, best in category, I'm going to show you. If you want to see the rest of the images that were in there, and there's some that are just outstanding, not all of mine are, but go out and look on the website under competitions, and you'll find all of the images from January. Yes.
Do you keep a working record of all the images that we submit? And
yes.
You get a record?
Yes. You can go out and see every competition back to 2017, I think.
2017?
Yeah, something like that. 17 or 19, something like that. since we started doing digital entry in the competition. So this was best in category in color. It's called Mom's Playground. I think it's a fantastic image. I think it's fantastic. I don't know how he got those birds to do that, but maybe he should teach us something.
It was easy.
It was easy. Were you there?
Yeah, I was standing next to him. I got the same picture, but Phil is the quintessential editor.
Yeah, he does great editing. Monochrome, Chip, best in category, The Visit. He also had an entry like this in color, which did that get a ribbon too, Chip?
Yes.
Okay. So he got 2 ribbons with the same image, one in color and one in monochrome. It wasn't exactly the same, was it?
Pardon me?
It wasn't, the 2 weren't exactly the same, were they?
No, it was
2 different images, one in color and one in monochrome.
This is taken at the, what is it, the Sarasota National Cemetery, on the road before you get to Myakka River State Park.
You want an
It's a
image?
wonderful image.
You want an image that tells a story? This is it. It tells a story. Thank you, Chip, for entering this. Best in category creative. Who does creative in here? Anybody? Yeah, I don't do it. I'm lousy at it. Yeah, Priscilla does a lot. What is it about creative that, how do you do it? Don Columbus out of stone and David Bosworth swirl. Nice images. Very creative. And finally, in our special category, plants and flowers, we had another tie. Diana Kalea, who wins a lot of images, but not as many as Phil. This Triple Crown is beautiful. And Ed Cohen, is Ed here tonight? He's not here tonight.
No.
He's got the ribbons ready, but we don't have him with us here tonight. Lily on display. These are both gorgeous flower images. So let's hear a talk from Parts of Image. Now I'm going to bring up this image. This is my image. Isn't that a beautiful image?
Yes.
Yeah, well.
I give it a 14.
Give it a 14, right? Jim gave it a 14. So Richard, what could I have done better or different with this image, if anything, to make it more appealing to a judge?
Well, if you make it less competing with the funny circles in the background.
Okay.
That's drawing the eye away from what I'm assuming the subject is, and I'm going to assume the subject is the blue. So that would be the first place you get stuck. The second one is the technical competence is to be assumed. Our cameras do so much of it for us, and so does the software. So if you're having problems with the whites being blown up, or the shadows going away, or the detail being lost in the petals, that's going to distract from your score. And then you've got all that extra space, and what's that doing for you? So that yellow on the left-hand side, that kind of pale yellow, draws your eye away, even though it matches the yellow and the blue. The bright yellow on the upper right-hand corner is just nasty. Oh, unless, of course, that was the subject, and then what's the bloody flower?
I'm going to change my rating to a 10.
Now, let's talk about that for a second. If the average score on this was a 10.7, that's because
No, that was the lowest average score.
the lowest, that's the same difference. That's the lowest score, that means all of the judges are assuming a level of competence halfway through the scoring system as their base. So it means most of us are starting out saying, before we saw the slide, it's probably a 14 or 15. Assume, and then you take points off, just like we used to do with tipping. You started out with 10% and work your way down to maybe meeting a penny. So you do that with judging. You start out with what you assume the base is going to be, and for everything that's bad, you take points off, and for everything that's really good, you add points to it. So we're a subtractive art. Anything that gets in the way of the subject is going to cost you points. That help?
Thank you, Richard. Does that help, guys?
Yeah.
A little critiquing there. Future competitions. Right now, there are no future competitions scheduled. Why? was I'm the competition director for January and I quit. I quit. So the board of directors is working towards getting another competition director. And I can tell you, I wrote all the software for this, managing this competition. There's a lovely dashboard to make it all work. And I got all the bugs out of it in this competition. So if you'd like to take that on, please stop and see me. If not, there may not be another competition. It's up to you. I do too much for this club at this point, and I'd like to rest. I want to go back to Africa. I'm going to go back to Africa or somewhere. I was in Africa in the middle of this competition, and fortunately I had some helpers to keep it running while I was gone. So, please step forward if you want to enter images in the competition. That's all I have to say about that. Would you like to see your pictures in the slideshow?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Marcel, you want to introduce that?
We're ready to go.
What?
You went to the conference.
Oh, the conference. Who's going to the conference? Somebody here. Yeah, the board members are going to the conference. All right, we got 2 minutes for the conference and then we'll do a slideshow. Thank you, Sonny. I had that in the right place, but I didn't. Everything got moved on my desktop. Let's see if I can find it quick.
Hold still, little Anhinga. Just one more image.
Beautiful day for photography, huh, friend? That's a mighty fine lens you've got there.
Whoa, you two just swooped right in. I wasn't expecting my models to talk back.
He gets that a lot. Elmer's been trying to get discovered ever since he saw a pelican on a calendar.
Now tell me, you ever heard of the F3C Photography Conference? Happening March 27 to the 29th down in Bradenton.
Can't say I have. What's the scoop?
Oh, it's the premier event for photographers across Florida. Workshops, lectures, hands-on demos, gear vendors, you name it. You can learn lighting from the pros, improve your landscapes, even get critiqued by top judges.
And if you're lucky, they might even tell you what all those buttons on your camera do. I'm still figuring out the one that makes Elmer look thinner.
Ignore her. The conference has something for everyone. Nature shooters, portrait folks, even the birding crowd.
That's right. Elmer's already volunteered to pose. Though he insists on a fan to make his feathers look cinematic.
You'll meet amazing photographers, make new friends, and maybe even get a picture with me. Plus, it's Florida. Great weather, great food, and great company.
Especially if you enjoy dinner conversations about aperture and f-stops. Riveting stuff.
Sounds like a real opportunity. How do I find out more?
Easy. Just flap on over to f3cconference.org. That's f3c-conference.org.
Tell him Marge and Elmer sent you. We get paid in fish.
No, we don't.
Well, we should.
Mind if I get a quick picture of you two?
Only if you get my good side.
Good luck finding it.
Jim is our animator. Conference is coming up soon. In fact, it's crushing me for work I have to do for it, getting those emails out to y'all. And I just want to let you know, we have opened up one-day tickets. You can go either on Saturday or Sunday. From here, you could drive up and drive home again. And those are available on the website now if you want to register. With that, I will go to the slideshow.